How's it going, guys? It's your boy Lieutenant Dan from Unintentional Grounding, and I kind of wanted to do a video here talking about the 2018 Atlanta Falcons draft class and everybody that got drafted by the Falcons. I'll do their own individual breakdown videos later, but I'll play some highlights in the background so you can kind of see who they are and talk about some of the positives and negatives that you guys can expect or can see from these players. So without further ado, let's get right into this. The first player that comes to mind is obviously the first pick, Calvin Ridley. And some of the stuff that I see that he can do is some of the same stuff that Julio Jones does very well. Very good high pointing the ball, very good hip flexibility, very good hands, very clean and crisp route running, NFL caliber catches, easily one of the faster wide receivers, even with that 4.5 at the combine or whatever it was, pro day or whatnot, a yak yard guy. Someone who is reliable down the field to find open spaces, and on and on and on, hip flexibility and missing tackles. Calvin Ridley does all of this for you. Now let's do some of the negatives that I have a problem with Calvin Ridley. There are times where he drops the ball, and that is a small, itsy bitsy, teeny weeny, yellow polka dot bikini flag that I have with Calvin Ridley. Is sometimes he will just drop the ball. Is that a product of the quarterback's throws? Yes. Is that a product of play design sometimes where guys are just jumping in front of him and stupid stuff happens? Yeah. Is that sometimes just because he doesn't want to be physical and ends up dropping a ball due to not only the throw being a little off, but also because he doesn't want to take a big hit? There are some cases where that happens. Not often, but it does happen, and it is a red flag that we should adjust ourselves to and understand. Now, the other thing is what I just mentioned, physicality. There is barely a time where I see that Calvin Ridley has contested catches. There is not a lot of plays on tape that I've seen that Ridley is contested with another corner. Is that because he's a great route runner? Probably. Is that because he's able to find spaces where the corners aren't able to get to him? Probably. Is that because he is a faster wide receiver than most? Probably. But you know what, man? In the NFL, you're going to get popped in the slot. You're going to have to make extraordinary catches. You're going to have to find spaces that are going to be even tighter than what you've been accustomed to. And you're going to have to use physicality to make those catches, and I'd like to see Calvin Ridley do more of that. And that is just two small knocks on a guy who had more value than the defensive tackles that were left on the board for the Atlanta Falcons to pick. And the Atlanta Falcons had a need for another top wide receiver in this class with an aging Julio Jones and a diminishing contract in Mohamed Sanu. I love the pick in the first round of Calvin Ridley, and I would not change a thing. Now let's talk about Isaiah Oliver out of Colorado, the Falcons' second pick. And something that I kind of wanted to discuss about this was the positives of Isaiah Oliver come out to be, A, he has extremely long arms. He's not extra tall, but he's sitting there at 6 foot 6'1", something right there. But those 33-inch arms and that 98th percentile wingspan is what makes him so deadly. Also, his extreme technique. If you ever take out a time out of your day to look at Brett Coleman's video on Isaiah Oliver, he is technically gifted. Really refining his skill set because he knows that he is not the fastest, but he is a quicker corner in this draft. He's a guy that has rangy ability, and he knows that he's going to struggle against smaller, quicker wide receivers, but against those top guys, against guys that are going to be big, strong, physical, He's going to get up there and outreach them for the ball. He's going to get in there and pop the ball away from them. He's going to create turnovers. He's going to be that kind of corner. My only knock on him, and I already explained that he will get tested by smaller slot wide receivers, is that he himself needs to be more physical. He needs to not shy away from tackling. One of my kind of red flags about Isaiah Oliver is that he does not like to tackle. It is not one of his things that he likes to do. He's more of an Asante Samuel type, but he's a man-to-man corner. He's more of an Asante Samuel type, but he is a man-to-man corner. He'll get himself into some situations where he will be flagged for some silliness. He'll be physical with you off the line, but then when it comes to open field tackling and whatnot, that is one of his areas that he's going to need to work on. Under Dan Quinn, I have no doubt in my mind that he will go out and work extremely well at making those open field tackles less of an issue, at making some of these moments where a guy breaks free out of the backfield and he's able to make that tackle. But his strength is bodying up against somebody, using long arms to knock the ball down, to break up passes and cause mistakes by quarterbacks to be exposed. And that's what I love about Isaiah Oliver so much. Now we'll talk about Deadrin Senat, a guy I didn't think that the Falcons had any interest at all picking up because of being an undersized guy, being a guy that had a solid combine. You're going to see most of his stuff on the screen, but a solid combine, nothing crazy. He really did lead the NCAA in a bunch of different little stats. But one of the things I just saw in Deadrin Senat as I watched his tape was how powerful he was, how he wasn't going to get moved off the ball, how he acted like he was a modern industrial trash can filled with dirt and steel. You just weren't going to move him. And on one-on-one battles in the trenches, he was able to win those one-on-one battles with limited pass rushing technique. One of his biggest strengths is his handwork, is his physicality with his hands. He acts like the Karate Kid. He acts like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. He will beat you up with his hands, combined obviously with his power that he brings in his game. He is a physical specimen that Dan Quinn and company are going to want to work with. He is hell of an athlete. I think that a lot of teams have just missed on this guy. He's well worth it, I feel, to be brought into Atlanta and come in and stuff the run and come in and play one or two downs in succession. That's one of the things that I do have a knock on with Deadrin Senat, is that because he's that dumpster full of dirt and steel, he really is going to be limited in his first year playing with the Falcons on how much time and how many snaps he's going to get. That may be the only knock on him, is that he is a traditional nose tackle. He will be playing in the base defense as the Falcons nose tackle, and eased into that position, might I add, with Grady Jarrett as the guy that's going to teach him how to work things out. So in my mind, this is an excellent pick, definitely a athletic guy, a guy that's going to work well with Grady Jarrett, complement what he's wanting to do. But my only red flag is that as of right now, this particular player is limited in what he can do right out of the gate. And I think that's the only knock you're getting with Deadrin Senat, is that he just can't play every single down. But he will eventually, over the next year or two, transform his body and his play style and learn new things at this next level under Dan Quinn. If there's any testament to that, it's Grady Jarrett. I'm not going to compare him to Grady Jarrett because they're two completely different players with two completely different skill sets and probably two different roads to success. But Deadrin Senat is a just a wonderful pick. I really thought the Falcons were going to address this need much earlier, and it surprised me taking all of these players. But taking a defensive tackle in the 3rd round and getting a steal like this guy is incredible. And I love the player, I love the pick, and I would not do this any differently. Ito Smith is cash money. There is something about him that reminds me a lot of Teron Ward, Tevin Coleman, and Freeman all together as one. If there's anyone that has amazing quickness, it's Ito Smith. If it's anyone that has amazing vision, it's Ito Smith. My only knock on Ito Smith, because of all the things that I just said, are just are positive, super positive, and I can't believe that we actually drafted him in the 4th round, would be that I don't think he's going to be a contributor right out of the gate, but I do think that he will get touches. I don't think he's going to take a lot of snaps away from anybody, but I think that when you got, you've been running Coleman all day, when you running Freeman all day, and you just want to bring somebody in, Ito Smith can come in, catch a couple balls, run a couple of times, and possibly break open a huge play for you down the field and show you why we got him. Some people will say that he's overdrafted. I think that's bull honky. I think that Ito Smith was well drafted at the right place and at the right time, and I love the pick. I think it's genuinely a positive pick just to cover our butts if Coleman does leave, if Freeman does get another concussion, and especially to replace Teron Ward, because I think this guy is a lot faster, a lot quicker, and a lot smarter with the football, especially catching the ball and especially taking outside zone plays to the house. I love him, and I think that this is a super positive pick. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This one had me scratching my head. This one really had me going, why did we trade our 2 7ths to walk up here and grab this particular player? I don't understand. Who is Russell Gage? And then I went and watched some film on this man, and I was like, oh, that's why. Oh, okay. So this is a guy that I can see possibly becoming a future 5th wide receiver, 4th wide receiver, a guy that can get those end arounds, a guy that can burn down the field. And by no means is he going to just immediately usurp Justin Hardy or anyone on this team for that matter. But I feel that the optimist in me says this is an athlete, a super fast, super reliable player that wasn't given a lot of chances when he was in LSU. But when he was given chances, he took those opportunities and made the best out of them. I think that Russell Gage has all the chances in the world to go out there and play on special teams, get some punt returns, kick returns, go out there and block for a bit, learn the nuances of being an NFL wide receiver, and eventually take a spot on this team as a backup, maybe the 5th or 4th wide receiver on this team or the 6th wide receiver on this team, and kind of help change the Falcons' identity at the wide receiver position. You never know what's going to happen. Guys can get injured. Guys can start losing their snuff. Guys can jump guys on the depth chart. Sometimes just somebody's hot and somebody's not. Russell Gage, to me, speaks to that. There's a potential in this player to really stand out amongst the crowd and really show that he has everything, all the intangibles to become one of the top wide receivers on our depth chart and a special weapon that we can use in certain scenarios. Now, look, I'm not going to go overboard about Foye Oluokun from Yale, but as a linebacker that's going to be competing for linebacker depth on this team, there's only 3 or 4 linebackers on this team at this very moment in time. There is a need for it. It was taken a bit late to my liking, but I understand the player profile. It's hard to profile these players in the 6th and 7th round and get the best out of them or figure out what they're going to be worth. In my mind, it was hard enough for me to talk about Russell Gage and what he would be worth. Now, look, Olakun to me is the type of guy that's going to get work at strong safety. He's going to get work at linebacker. He's going to be a Kamel Ishmael type. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just my biggest red flag on this player after watching his tape was he does not have the instincts as a linebacker to make the plays when necessary. There seems to be times where he's more concentrated on what's in front of him than what's around him. And that seems to be a problem to me. Overall, I think that this Falcons draft class was one of the most productive, looking for the future, not the now, looking for guys that are going to help with contract situations and give us some time to develop guys that can help us for the future. Every one of these guys looks like a 2 to 3 year development process, but will get immediate playing time, albeit I don't know how many snaps these guys are going to get. I'm going to cover almost every single one of these guys as long as they have meaningful snaps in the upcoming months. From August to September and beyond, I'm going to be looking for these 2018 draft class draftees and trying to do as much tape as I possibly can on them and see where they're playing and what they're doing. I want to thank you guys for watching this tape. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new. Please hit the notification bell that you guys can see on the main page, and light that bell up so that you know when new content goes forward, when you can be notified when that new content comes out. Also, go check out the Patreon if you guys want to drop a little dollar in the Patreon, because all of this content is free, and it really would help me be able to do more content for you guys in the future and do it more frequently if I'm being paid to be able to do it. Also, please do check me out on Twitter and on Instagram. I am as humble as I can possibly be and as friendly and responsive as I possibly can be with everyone that follows my channel and follows my social media. And I try to follow back as much as I possibly can. So please do hit me up at those particular places as well. My name's Lieutenant Dan. This was the Atlanta Falcons 2018 draft review, and I will be doing some breakdowns on these players individually over the next coming months to kind of tell you guys and show you guys what these players are really all about. But this was just a quick discussion to kind of give you an overview of who we drafted. You guys take it easy. You'll listen to nothing but the facts and the truth from Lieutenant Dan here at Unintentional Grounding. Rise up.